This YCN segment is brought to you by Mount Sunapee Resort. Fun for all seasons.
Welcome in, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, and joining me this week, Brett Franklin from 94 ESPN Radio. Brett, thanks for joining me again.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
And you can always catch Brett every weekday, 12 to 1. I'm on his show on Tuesdays. He's got the other 4 days covered. 945ESPN.com on the internet. And Brett, we talked about the Patriots yesterday when I talked with you, and that game on Sunday. That was a bad one. And is that one of those games where you just say, forget about it, or is there some big problems they need to address?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the camp of move on and on to Miami, as Bill Belichick would say. But no, it was not a good outing. Usually after a tough loss like you suffered in Jacksonville, Patriots rebound. But let's look at it a little bit more closely, Jeremy. The fact that the Patriots didn't have two of their top defensive starters, and Trey Flowers and Chung as well. And then also still no Julian Edelman, supposed to get him back in a couple of weeks. And this offensive line still needs to kind of gel a little bit here early on in this season. So this game against Miami on Sunday, which we'll talk about a little bit more, very big game at home against an undefeated Dolphins team. This is where I'll either be very content or they'll be DEFCON 5.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned when we're talking about that Lions game, both sides of the ball. It wasn't one side of the ball that was the big culprit where their offense going to get going, their defense. Whose side or which side are you more concerned about? Because you are going to get Edelman back, so hopefully those things will shape up. But now you learn you lose a couple defensive players, or a defensive player, Bentley, today, but you lose Burkhead also. So which side is more concerning right now?
I think you look at the defensive side of the football, and as you mentioned, as we were coming in here, obviously, as you mentioned, Rex Burkhead, running back on injured reserve, and linebacker Juwan Bentley, who I was really high on, the fifth-round draft pick out of Purdue. He's done for the season as well. I'm more worried about the defensive side of the football. I think the offense will be okay. They'll figure things out, but it's going to be the defense that I'm most concerned about already now. Missing a key young linebacker in Bentley, who, again, I said I was really high on. They couldn't stop the run at all on Sunday, and the Lions, it was their first 100-yard rusher in 5 years that they allowed. So that's a concern right there. But I'm more worried about this defense. Offense will figure itself out, but defensively, this team has its work cut out for them.
Right, and we knew going into it that offensively they had a lack of skill position players at the beginning of the season. Obviously, with the Edelman injury, trying to find out that running back position. Was it going to be White, Michelle, obviously Burkhead? They were hoping for big things. Dorsett having his first really full season with the training camp. We talked about that a lot. So, and then obviously Gronk. We haven't even talked about him, but he's making some news, or maybe I should say his brother is making some news. What do you
Which
make
one?
Of, right?
Which
what
brother?
do you make
Seven
of
them.
that? Is Gronk really going to be this problem? We had heard in the offseason that if the Patriots were going to trade him, he was going to retire. So it seemed like he was committed to this Patriots team. Now there's rumblings. Is that anything to be worried about?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more, or it's better for Patriots fans, the fact that he said he would retire if he was traded. He wants to be a Patriot. He wants to play here in New England, wants to play with Tom Brady. So I'm not worried about it. I think it was, maybe a little steam blowing off, and of course, a Gronkowski in front of a microphone always going to get some great quotes and get some honesty on it. But I'm not worried about Gronk. I think he'll be just fine. But they need to find out ways to get him open, though, and get him more involved in the pass catching game.
And I think that will happen, obviously, in week 4, or excuse me, after week 4, when Edelman comes back. I think they'll have a little bit more opportunity. Teams can't double team him.
Yeah, and looking at Miami this week, I think they're the third worst team in passing yards. They've allowed over close to 300 yards, and that's against the Titans, Jets, and Raiders. So I think the Patriots will air it out quite often on Sunday.
And before today, like I said, we talked yesterday, we were talking the running back situation with Michelle, White, Burkhead. Obviously, Burkhead leaving the game with an injury. Now we come to find out he's on IR. What does that running back situation look like? That was that situation. It looked like they had some pieces in place, but we weren't sure who would emerge. Now what does it look like?
Well, and obviously Jeremy Hill going down earlier this year.
Yes.
They were so flush at running back position. Now they're losing. So I think this will increase the workload of James White, Sony Michel. I'm not beating up Sony Michel like some pundits are. Again, the guy didn't play at all this preseason. I think he is eventually going to be a key piece of this offense. But let's see if this includes James White a little bit more, the forgotten man of this running back core.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the rest of the season to see how they maneuver and move pieces around and get players ready ready to go because, like you said, Michelle hadn't played anything in the preseason. Josh McDaniel still trying to figure out the play calling a little bit. So lots to go. Obviously, we'll talk about that Miami game, and that's a huge game, obviously, for this Patriots team. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk some Red Sox. They clinched the #1 seed earlier this week in the American League, and they get their 106th win, most in franchise history. We'll take a break. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.